Hi, I'm Alan Douglas. Welcome to my studio. In this painting that I'm calling Ashfall, I'm going to show you how to paint a glowing effect in oil paint. Let's get started. So this painting is called Ashfall, and most of what you're seeing is acrylic, but I have switched to oils. You can tell by the glare of the medium where the oil has already been applied. Now what I want to do is show you up in here how to get a glowing effect. So one of the first things I do is I mix my paint into essentially a rainbow effect. You can see what I've done here. So I'm starting with my whites, which transition into warm yellows, to oranges, to warm reds, to cool reds, to violets, into more of a brownish tone. And then I eventually want to get closer to what the color of the rock is up here. So it's important to set up a kind of a rainbow like that, because that is the most effective way to paint a glowing effect. So I thought this would be a good project to show you the glowing effect because of the glowing lava. Now the first thing I do when I'm working in oils is I just lay down a little bit of my medium in the areas I want to paint. And this is just straight Gelkid. It's an alkyd based medium which increases gloss and speeds the drying time of your paint. So I'm just using it without any pigment in the areas of the rock right now. But then in the areas over the lava, I'm going to tint it with some red. Now the reason for laying this down initially is every brush stroke I lay into this mixture as I paint will mix with this fast drying medium. It will ensure that when I come back to it the next day, it is dry to the touch and I can do further glazes if I want, or just paint into it directly. And by adding a little bit of red there, all the paint that I include in this area will mix in with a little bit of that red to help give it a warm, glowing effect. I should also mention that in the paint that I laid down here, I did mix my Gelkid into the paint as well, so that fast drying mixture is in all of my paint, which will help speed up that drying time. You want to start with your lightest values color first, because your brush will get a little dirtier with darker value paints as you go. And it's easy to go from light to dark as opposed to dark to light. This might even take a couple layers, I'm not sure yet. And then what you want to do is basically kind of go through the rainbow. Not the rainbow as we know it, but the rainbow of whatever color glow you're trying to achieve. So in this case I'm trying to achieve a warm orangey glow. So as you saw by my paint, all the colors I laid out are in that warm color family. And this technique works for any kind of glow. You could paint glowing eyes, glowing lanterns, whatever. The important thing is to have your colors go through those value changes based on whatever color of light you're dealing with. As you can see, basically the brightest part is in the center of the glow, and it's going to get progressively darker in value as you paint around the brightest part of your glow. you can see I'm just applying the same technique to all of these little lava waterfalls here. And I'm going from the yellows to the reds. Now since these lava waterfalls are in the distance, I guess they're lava falls, not waterfalls. I might end up glazing some reds over top just to kind of knock them into the background. Because obviously I want the closer lava falls to be a little more prominent with their glow. So you really do rapidly go through the value shifts from bright yellow to a light mid-tone orange to a mid-tone red. And then eventually you want to go to the kind of these darker purples. And then transitioning into... Now with a dirty brush, I'm going to keep some of that red on there, but I'm going to transition into the rock color that I showed you I had pre-mixed on my palette. Now what I'll do is I will get a new brush that's not dirty to help blend it together a little bit. So I will come at it with a nice soft bristled brush. Again, start at the middle of the glow and just soften all the edges. Obviously you want to do the light areas of all three of these lava flows before moving into your darker value transitions. So now we're going kind of from the orange to the red. If you find you have a little too much paint on your brush, just wipe it off on your rag or paper towel, whatever you're using. I generally recommend a lint-free rag. So now I will go from the mid-tone reds into the darker, cooler reds. But you can see how you can't go back into the lights because now I have this darker red on my brush. And it would just muddy up those yellows. Now I'm going to go from the darker reds right into that rock color. Oils are great for achieving these smooth blends because it stays wet for so long. I'll probably eventually thin this one down too. It's too much of a similar size to these other two lava falls. To really make it look like a light source, if you want to add some details in some of the surrounding rocks, as if some of that warm glow is illuminating the edges of some of those rocks, it'll help give you the idea that it is a light source unto itself. But you got to be careful that you don't want to, this is a soft kind of glowing light source. It's not a direct light or anything like that, so it's got to be pretty subtle. So that is giving you a sense of light. What will immediately make the lava look like it's glowing is to darken the areas around the lava. And you can adjust this later on if this ends up getting too dark, because it is kind of a distant rock formation. You can always lighten it up in the end with glazes. This brush does not have a good tip to it anymore, but that's okay. I will refine stuff with a smaller brush later on, but it's important to lay in paint quickly. There's no sense using a tiny brush when you have somewhat of a large area to cover. It just is detrimental to getting the painting done in a timely fashion. But you can see how darkening that surrounding rock suddenly makes the glow look even brighter. Because color is subjective and values are subjective. It's all based on what's around it. So the colors will look lighter if it's surrounded by darks. And then of course you'll need to go in and reestablish some of the textures of the rocks and that sort of thing. And this is it's a great time to do it when it's all wet, because you can just let it blend in to the wet paint, working wet into wet. So yeah, you can get a sense of the glow that is achieved by quickly shifting through a rainbow of warms, from brighter yellows to the warm reds to the cooler reds to the purples mixed with the color of the rock. And like I said earlier, you can apply this same idea to whatever glowing effect you have in your painting, whether it's magical effects, glowing lava, glowing fire, evil glowing eyes, that sort of thing. You just gotta shift through your rainbow of colors based on the color of light that you're using. Thanks for watching.